You're with Lunch here on NDTV Profit. Now we're reflecting on the gains made during the second US-India commercial and strategic dialogue that occurred last week. And joining us to really reflect on the conversations and what concrete gains it yields for India and the United States, we have Dr. Mukesh Aghi, President of the US-India Business Council, joining us this afternoon. Dr. Aghi, if I ask you what are the key takeaways from this second India-US strategic and commercial dialogue, what would you put on the list?
Well, Manvi, I think we have quite a few positive takeaway. I think more important is India and the US have signed the logistic agreement. I think it helps India, it helps the US from every aspect. But I think more important is some of the things which are laid out in the first event, for example, ease of doing business, a solvency and bankruptcy issue, innovation. Those all have been aligned, and I think we're waiting for now the GST to be also implemented. That's going to help. So I think what we are seeing is a very, very positive trend or trajectory between the two countries' relationship. We are optimistic that it will go in a win-win fashion in the next 20 years itself.
But would you agree if I said that the focus seemed to have been more on strategic rather than commercial?
I would say I think the strategic one is getting more coverage by the media. But if you look at on the commercial side, things are moving well. We are seeing, the business between two countries have crossed $110 billion. We are seeing more exchanges taking place on the professors, on the research side. We are seeing a lot of traction taking place on the IP side. So I think while there's a lot of activities taking place in the commercial side, it's the strategic which seems to get all the coverage.
But what you just described is a bit of a continuum. What were the concrete gains from this round of dialogues on the commercial side, which is not really a continuum?
Well, I think if you look at what we had is definitely there was a discussion on the IP policy side. India releases IP policy. It has moved in the right direction, reaching the global standards. Yes, there are always issues. You'll never agree on anything which is 100%. So I think what we're seeing is so the critical issues are being hammered down and moving into the next direction also.
I'm going to quote one observer who said actually that the commercial side is just underwhelming. Your reaction?
Well, I think you have to look at, yes, $100+ billion trade is not enough. I think we're targeting to $500 billion, but you also have to look at the international global environment last 24 months. I think exports for every country is shrinking, and but more important is if you look at from our export and services side, they are growing, especially the IT services. So I think from an India perspective, what we're seeing is the IT services are going up, while other side may not be going up. But I think it's a matter of time. As the environment changes, you will see things shifts taking place much more aggressively.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a simple question. You're regularly in touch with the heads of American companies in India. What's on their to-do list that they want addressed sooner rather than later?
I think the couple of areas, I think we have to now basically take this ease of doing business to the state level to make sure that there's more transparency, there's more predictability as companies invest on a state level. I think the big ticket item is still the bilateral investment treaty, and I think both sides are discussing seriously. It's a complex issue, and it has to be dealt with, but as I understand, things are moving also in the right direction. The more important is I think we also have to address the issue from the India side. We have a H-1B visa issue. We need to open that more. I think the higher fee is I call not right, is discriminatory, and I think that has to be corrected. And then the other key factor is totalization. I think Indian IT companies are leaving roughly $1.5 billion on the average every year on the US Social Security, and we have to find a solution so that money comes back to the Indian companies and people who have contributed back to India. So yes, we do have we have made progress, but there are a lot of other big-ticket items which need to move forward.
A bilateral investment treaty, one could argue that's a really ambitious one.
I think if you're talking about the bilateral investment treaty, yes, it is. But I think it is important that when you go to a boardroom and you say you're going to put in $5 billion, you know, boards are asking what is a dispute resolution mechanism? You know, how are you going to deal with these issues as you move forward? So I think it is important we come to some understanding on bid part to give assurance to big-ticket investors who are going to come in the infrastructure side, have a long-term investment, that there is a proper process to deal with disputes.
Well, I'm going to leave it at that. Dr. Mukesh Aghi, President of the US-India Business Council. Good to have you on NDTV today.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Profit in association with NSC.